Welcome to the Roots of the LMHE podcast. LMHE is here to amplify the voices of Louisiana music community and cultural leaders while exploring how heritage, creativity, and economic equity intersect. Today on our program, we have Mr. Jimmy Anselmo. Good morning.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
I'm doing fine. Excited to be here.
Well, you look great. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
So, Jimmy, you have a long history with the city of New Orleans and the music in it and the culture. How did you first become involved in the New Orleans music and cultural community?
I was born into it. I say that because my dad was a professional boxer, and after his boxing career, he opened clubs on Bourbon Street. His first club that he worked for Louis Prima's brother. It was called Leon Prima's 500 Club. He worked there in the 30s as a bouncer. And then he opened his first club. It was a music club across the street from Arnaud's restaurant in the French Quarter called the Little Blue Room. And he had entertainment there. And then he had another club on Bourbon Street. He bought a building, 333 Bourbon, called Jimmy King's Mardi Gras Lounge, and he had entertainment. He had some pretty famous people work there. Papa Celestine worked there. And then in the height of the Jim Crow era, he had a black nightclub called the Big Hat Lounge across the street. On Gravier Street from the Greyhound bus station.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And they all had live entertainment?
So I grew up in all of that. You know, my first time, his club when I was a little boy, I'd be in there doing the daytime, and I'd get up on the bandstand. The club was closed, and I'd play with the drum set. And my dad said, "You better get off of that. That's not a toy." I thought it was a toy.
And so growing up with this around you and music, what role does music play in your personal life?
Well, first of all, I had ambitions on being a musician, okay? And I was in the high school band. In junior high, I took up the trumpet because my dad would take me in the clubs, even as a little boy, because he was friends with everyone on Bourbon Street, and I would witness a lot of these, musical shows, people like Sharky Banana, Santo Bacora, Al Hurt, and they were the leaders with the trumpet players, and I took up the trumpet. And there's a funny story. When I first got married, I told my wife I was thinking about taking up the trumpet, and she said, "I'd prefer if you take up the vacuum cleaner."
Smart woman.
Yeah.
So you take up the trumpet, then, after high school.
Well, I joined the Navy Reserve when I was a junior in high school. My commitment was 2 years active duty after I graduated, and I served on an aircraft carrier, the USS Saratoga, moving jets on the hangar deck and the flight deck around. And then I stayed in the music experience because when I was discharged, my brother-in-law owned clubs on Bourbon Street. His name was Bobby Blanchett. And my sister said, "We have a job for you." It was at a music club called Papa Joe's on Bourbon Street. And I didn't really know how to be a bartender, but they showed me how to bartend, and they broke me in as a bartender, and I worked the jam session shift at Papa Joe's. And they had a real great band there, pretty famous people in it. Freddie Fender, Joe Barry, Skip Easterlin, a little Joe Lambert. That was the house band. and Johnny Perino was the saxophone player. And I'd go to work at 2:30 in the morning, and I'd work till 10 o'clock that morning. The jam session, the people came in there, or the strippers, some gangsters, pimps, waiters, and they were all great tippers.
I was going to say, did they tip well?
I got out of the Navy in 65, and I went to work there in early 66. And at the time, I made great tips. Sometimes I'd make as much as $250 a night or $300 a night in tips, because people who worked in the quarter were big tippers.
Yeah, because they know.
Right.
So you're working on Bourbon Street, and at what point do you decide to stop working on Bourbon Street and open up your own club?
Well, I had an uncle who was in the amusement business. It was called Tack Amusement, and he would finance people for the bars because his whole business was pinball machines and jukeboxes. So there was a place that I bought on Carrollton Avenue. It was called Co-Ed's Lounge. So I asked him for a loan if I could buy that. This was after working in the quarter for a year. And so I bought Co-Ed's, which was 800 South Carrollton. And it wasn't a big place, but it was my first nightclub.
What year was that?
1967.
And what was the neighborhood like up there?
It was uptown New Orleans. It was close to the university, so I catered to the college students, Loyola and Tulane.
And, when you bought it, did you immediately know, like, what you were going to do with it? It was going to
Well, no. When I first bought the place, it was a lounge. Back in those days, a lounge was a place where people would go play some soft music on a jukebox, sit in a booth, and it was too slow. I wanted to pack the club, so I talked to some college students, and he suggested that I hire the president of a fraternity, and he'd bring the fraternity there, in which I did. So I started packing the club with fraternities from Loyola University.
And then after that?
Well, after that, I'd been there 67, and about 71 or 72, there was a space available a block away. And I wanted to create another club there, which was called Quasimodo's. So I built that from an empty space, and I had 2 lounges going at one time.
And then how long did that last?
Well, it lasted till actually about 70, 75. Around 74, I was getting kind of antsy because I was asking myself, Jimmy, where do you want to be in the next 10 years? It was a small club.
Right.
Both my clubs were small clubs. And I was starting to go to some of the music clubs. There was a club called Jazz that I knew Jed, and had live music there. And I said, that's something I'd like to do. And they had a gentleman by the name of Al Pellegrini, who had Al Pellegrini's pool hall was on Willow Street. And he used to come in, and he says, my place is for sale. Not the building, just the business, and I looked at it and I saw the potential there, and I decided to buy that. And I bought that for $13,000. And I had a long-term lease. And, money I borrowed also from amusement companies.
And did you close the other 2 places, or
I sold the other place because it was a lengthy process getting it all together.
Right.
Because after I bought the club out, it was a pool hall. He didn't have much business, and so I decided to close it up and seek financing to renovate the club, to transfer it into a music club called Jimmy's.
So when you opened your last place,
My rent was really cheap. My rent was only $200 a month.
Oh, nice.
So I'd sold my other club for $12,000, Quasimodo's, and I kind of lived off of that, and I started some of the work on it. And I was seeking loans. I went to the banks, dressed up like a yuppie, and had a little briefcase. And I went to the banks, and I went to 3 banks. And they all liked my story. They all turned me down. Banks didn't like lending money for nightclubs. So my last resort was the Small Business Administration. I had people advise me you should go to the Small Business Administration. So I went to them, and they gave me a caseworker to work with me to put together all my paperwork involved in that loan. It was a nice man, and then I still remember his name, Julius Smoke, okay? So I put together, profit and loss statements of what it would be, and anyway, what I was going to have at the club. And my loan was I was asking for $85,000.
What year was this?
1977.
Okay.
So I was turned down. So I said, oh, Jimmy, you have to look for a job now. So he told me in my casework, he said, if you submit this at a lower price, I think I can get this passed. So I submitted it for $65,000, and I was granted the money.
Nice.
And which was good. I look at a lot of things in my life, especially in business. I always say I was going to have a grill in the club, and I didn't need a grill. People weren't coming there to eat. They were there to hear the music. A lot of things I realized that I didn't need. So it worked out to my benefit by having that. So my loan was approved for $65,000. And they just don't give you $65,000. You have to get your carpenters, your electricians, your plumber, all bonded, and they gave them half the money, and when it's completed, they gave them the other half.
Oh,
the acts that I did have, first of all, I stopped doing jazz acts like Sonny did, and they didn't draw very well. I had some bands that I knew that would do well. It was like Little Queenie and the Percolators, the Radiators, the Neville Brothers, and the Sheiks. It was a band I did real well with. Okay, and their guarantees, I knew I could make the guarantee. Okay, so in the beginning, I kind of cruised along. I wanted to have some national acts, but the big national acts, you had to have money to send them. You had to send them half the money, and then the other money when they finished their performance. And I didn't have any backup money, so I just started. As I accumulated some money eventually, I was able to book some national acts. Not a lot as much as mine too, because with my bankroll that I had.
And you opened Jimmy's in
78.
78. April of
78. And I did real well that first night.
That's
Matter of fact, when I opened, I didn't even have a sign out front.
Really?
I just had the building there. There wasn't a sound
How
out
popular
front.
were the Devil Brothers back then?
Very popular.
They used to play at Jed's, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
They were very popular.
They started
very,
there.
And so was Little Queenie and the Percolators.
Were they popular worldwide or just locally at that
Well,
point?
they were starting to become popular worldwide. And Little Queenie, Lee Harris, she was fantastic, very talented. And, of course, the Sheiks were very big at the time, and the Radiators.
Yes.
Excuse me.
And so in the beginning of the club, you booked local bands mostly?
Well, like I said, I couldn't hire the national bands. They were mostly local bands.
And how did that go?
Oh, went real well.
Yeah.
And I, booked them a lot. And of course, I had a lot of people wanted to play their different bands. And a lot of the bands, we would do door deals where I would, for 80% of the door, they would get 80%. And, they would get 80% and I would get 20% to pay for, production, sound, and lights.
What's the one show that you look back on and you'll always remember?
Well, when the Cole came around. Okay, the Cole was a local band. It was a female singer, Barbara Menendez, and Kevin Radica. And I'm trying to think of some of the other people in the band right offhand. Chris Luckett, he was the drummer, and Vance DeGeneres, that was Ellen DeGeneres' brother. Wow. And they were playing a few other clubs, and when I did open Jimmy's, I would still check out bands at other clubs to see how well they were doing. I would go to Jazz or Tipitina's, and the Cole, they just packed the place. It was a sellout. So I said, that's the band I want in my club. And I had the band, and they really liked the club, started playing there. And eventually I enlarged Jimmy's. I had some storage space. And when you first opened Jimmy's, you walked in, the stage was on the right, and the storage space was blocked off of the wall right there. About 2 years after I had opened, I took the wall out and put a stage on the far corner of the room. And I enlarged the club by a good 35%. And the Cole really loved it because every time they played, there was a sellout. And I did really well. And it wasn't a guarantee. They did it for 80% of the door. And we all made money.
Nice.
And also at the time, they told other clubs like Jed, we can't play anymore. I'm sorry, but but Jimmy's is a better club and bigger.
I was gonna,
for a band that makes money off the door,
right.
Why would you play at a smaller? You restrict yourself. And I had a lot of bands do that. And a lot of the bands from the Maple Leaf, I'd go there and I'd encourage them to come to Jimmy's. Marcia Ball, she started coming to Jimmy's, and the Radiators, they stopped playing there after, because Maple Leaf's a nice club, and I respect them for what they've been doing in the music business, but it's a small club.
Right.
They can't compete with a club that's 8 times bigger.
Right. You were booking some pretty big bands there also, right?
Oh, the biggest I had, right.
What was the biggest?
I don't know, so many. I'd be here all day. But some of the big bands I had, let me think of them right off here, Greg Allman, BTO. Another interesting thing to talk about is Trent Reznor, Nine Inch Nails.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't book the Nine Inch Nails.
Mm-hmm.
Trent Reznor used to hang in a club. He lived here.
Mm-hmm.
And we became friends. I introduced myself, and he liked my club. So one day I get a call from his management. They said, Trent wants to play the club, and gave me a date. And he says, what do you have booked this night? This was about a month away. And I said, 3 new wave bands. He said, well, we'll have those bands open for Trent. We'll pay them $300 to open for the show. Uh-huh. He says, this is how we're going to work this. You cannot tell anybody. You have to keep this a secret until the day of the show. Mm-hmm. And then the day of the show, we'll announce it on the radio. Because here's someone that's playing auditorium, 20,000 people, Trent Reznor.
Right.
So we kept it a secret. Of course, I'd tell
a New Orleans secret.
A New Orleans secret. So that's when the patio really came in handy. So the day of the show, they started announcing it, and people started lining up at noon for a 7 o'clock door. Mm-hmm. And so what I did is I helped the patio open. They all drank out there, so I made money off the patio. Right,
smart.
and I use that as an entrance to the club.
Mm-hmm. Very smart.
So,
and what year was that?
Oh, I think that was about 1992, 93.
Wow.
Okay. Some of the people I met there, I remember I met Marilyn Manson. He was there.
Oh, really? He was at the show?
He didn't perform, but he was at the show.
He was at the show?
Right.
Wow. That's wild. Mm. And was that the first and last time Trent played there?
Yeah, it was just a one-time event.
Mm-hmm. How fun.
It was fun, exciting. People lined up at 12 o'clock to get in the for 7.
Yeah, it's kind of like when the Revivalists did their thing at...
good band. I really like that band.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of some of the big name. Sleep at the Wheel. They were a big band. Mm-hmm. An interesting story about that. That was one of the first national acts that I booked. Mm-hmm. Sleep at the Wheel. And... I was supposed to send them half the money. I didn't have the money to send them, but they came anyway.
Oh,
and
nice.
It worked out right. We had about 500 people play the club.
Wow.
David Allen Cole, he was a big draw. Mm-hmm. Bonnie Raitt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she played there.
Nice. So what year? So 77?
I opened in 78.
78. And then you went till
2000.
Till 2000.
And I bought the building, the property, in 99. Mm-hmm. And I sold the business in 2000 to Chris Berry.
Oh.
He was one of the owners, him and one of his partners that he had in the business.
And did they keep the name?
They kept the name.
Mm-hmm. And were you ready to leave it?
Yeah, it was time, Also, the House of Blues came around, and that was somewhat competition to me because they could offer bands a lot. They could offer bands, you can play at my club, you can play at Los Angeles. They had clubs all over the country. I just saw it was time to move on. Look
into the future. The museum is being built. It's at the opening, and what are you personally feeling?
Well, being a board member, I'm proud of that. Also, I feel wonderful. I'm excited about it, and this museum is going to have everything. Mm-hmm. This will help educate people on what we have here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you say that it has everything, I think that Louisiana people don't really understand the amount of music that started here, and I mean. If you go to certain places, they'll say, "Oh, that's the beginning of funk," or "That's the beginning of this," or "the beginning of that."
I grew up in it, and having people like Louis Armstrong.
Right, but here it really is the birthplace of jazz.
Absolutely.
And you have funk, and you have country, and you have Cajun, and you have Zydeco, and you have the list goes on. Bounce music.
We have it all.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think? All this music started here? I
think it all started here because New Orleans was a city of immigrants who came from all over. Mm-hmm. The Italians, the French, the Haiti, Caribbean, everything. And it was a melting pot. And it was created here.
And you think a lot, we know that a lot of that music intermingled and became what it is.
Correct.
Also with Congo Square.
Right.
In one sentence, what economic and cultural impact do you believe LMHE will have on New Orleans?
I think it's just really big time, the same way the World War II Museum is. Mm-hmm. And since music is such a big part of our life, part of our culture, we need that here.
Mm-hmm. How do you think LMHE could support nearby small businesses, artists, and neighborhood communities?
I think it would help the music scene a lot. Mm-hmm. And I think that would help.
And by bringing in people,
By bringing in people and let people know about all the music we have here and the culture, I think it would help tremendously.
And then would spread out into the neighborhoods?
Absolutely.
What would you say to any government leaders right now, whether it be citywide, statewide, to convince them that we really need to build this
Because it's
institution?
another plus for tourism in New Orleans.
How?
Bringing people here.
Why do they want to come?
That would be one of them right there. A great museum, music.
And why do you think now is the perfect time to create this?
Better late than never.
I know this is probably like asking which is your favorite child, but what's your favorite band?
What is my favorite band? Well, I have so many of them. It's kind of, hard to say. I loved growing up. I loved Louis Prima. Mm-hmm. My daddy loved Louis Prima.
Did you get to meet him?
No,
okay.
no. I got to meet Louis Prima.
Oh, you did? Yeah.
My dad was good friends with him.
Oh, nice.
Before he was famous, they used to hang out together.
Did he play in your dad's clubs?
No, he didn't play there. But
okay.
I met him through my dad and other people I met. I met Frank Sinatra with my dad.
Nice. How was he?
Oh, wonderful person. And I met him I had a cousin had a club called the Dream Room, and my dad said, come by and meet Frank Sinatra. We'll sit down and have a little talk with, the club owner was named Jimmy Anselmo. And they were closed, but they all sat at the table. It was so interesting because I'm sitting there, here's Frank Sinatra to myself, right? And Frank Sinatra was in awe of my daddy.
Really?
Because my dad was a professional boxer. And Frank Sinatra was an amateur boxer. And he wanted to hear all these boxing stories with my dad.
Oh, that's cool.
Right. And I had a wonderful dad, wonderful mom. I'm very fortunate in life.
Mm-hmm. Were they around to see your club or come to your club?
Well, my dad saw my other bars that I had, but I wish he'd have been around. He passed away in 1973 to see Jimmy's, but my mother was there.
Nice.
And that was so cool. So I had to work for me. She would work for inventory day, would be on Thursdays, and I would pay us some money, take the checkbook, write all the inventory coming in the day. It wasn't open just for inventory.
Right.
I have interesting story to tell about that, my mom. And also she worked the door a few times.
Really?
Who else do you trust more than your mom?
Yeah, right.
She worked when I had to sleep at the wheel, and she really loved it and everything. But she was working for the inventory coming in, and I got a call from Jerry Jeff Walker. You familiar with him, aren't you? Jerry Jeff Walker? He wrote Mr. Bojangles.
Okay.
Jerry Jeff Walker, and he was playing at Tipitina's, and he called me up a couple of days before his gig at Tipitina's. Tipitina's at the time, whatever owner was, didn't send him the deposit, and he was going to cancel the show. And he heard about Jimmy's, and he called me on the phone, and he asked, I heard good things about your club. I'd like to come by and look at it. Is there a possibility you could have me play this weekend? And I had some local bands. I could move them other days. And of course, he had packed the club, Jerry Jeff Walker. So I said, well, come look at the club. So him and his wife came by, and my mom was there. And he liked what he saw, and he was going to the hotel. He asked if I'd call a cab. I said, no, we're finished now. I'll drive you to the French Quarter. So in the car with my mom and Jerry Jeff Walker, I said, Mom, this is the man who wrote Mr. Bojangles. And my mom said, that's a lie. I said, no. She said, that was Sammy Davis Jr. I said, Mom, he wrote the song, Mr. Bojangles. She called him a liar. Sure, it's a funny story. I always remember that.
That's funny.
Right. But proud that she saw nights when I had, lawns wrapped around the block to get in.
Mm-hmm. That's fun that she was
she was
able
proud
to be
of
part
me. And
of
also after that, she was at the event in 2012. I was not inducted in the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame, but I got Lifetime Achievement Award, Offbeat Magazine. And they had like a little ceremony at the Mint, the people that got these different awards. And she came for the award show.
Oh, that's nice.
She was in a nursing home at the time, like the wheelchair, brought her over there.
That's nice. Yeah. So in closing, we've talked about your involvement in the music business here in New Orleans, why you love it so much. What do you see? What do you anticipate in the next couple of years?
I think it's all positive. Simply because this museum coming to
Do you think that it's going to help jumpstart?
Absolutely. A big plus for New Orleans, and we've been needing that for a long time. I'm so happy to be involved in it, and I'm so happy it's going to happen.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm sure there's a million stories we didn't get to.
Do it again.
Yes.
Anytime.
We appreciate you coming. And for all of you out there, if you want to read more or find out more about the Louisiana Music and Heritage Experience, please visit us at lmhe.org. Come there, donate. We're starting a new ambassador program. You can get out there and be our ambassador. Follow us on social media. Our Instagram is at LMHE-NOLA, or our YouTube channel is at LMHE_live. And with that being said, thank you, Jimmy, again for coming and sharing a little bit of your history.
I'm proud that you would think about me for being on this.
Absolutely. You're such a huge part of New Orleans and New Orleans music, and we appreciate you.
Now I got a swell head.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.